Hi everyone. So I've been working on this language project of mine for a while, and now I want to present this work in progress. So it's been inspired by many other languages like Tokipona, Kokano, Pandunia, Esperanto, and others, but it has some specific features and a specific purpose that I did not find represented in these other projects, so I decided to come up with my own. Essentially, after I discovered Tokipona, I had this idea that it could be used for an international auxiliary language if the Tokipona vocabulary represented the core things, like the vague ideas of things, but on top of that, we could add any sorts of borrowings from any languages. And gradually, people would borrow things from each other, and speakers of different languages would exchange vocabulary. And some Creole languages would be created like that, and then they would, get creolized between each other, and merge and split and merge again. And we will have this constant sea of creolization of everything. But when thinking about that, I came to some conclusions that probably I should change some things in Tokipona. And I don't want to talk about all the details, but essentially this is the spreadsheet where I am working on everything. And here we have the dictionary, which is taken from Tokipona, Kokano, and also from all sorts of languages that could be found on the In Different Languages website. So essentially taken from all over the world. Here we have some examples. So this is the same sentence, but using different vocabulary. And here we have the grammar. Here we have different systems to represent numbers, to represent colors, to represent frequencies and levels of ability, different sizes, different mass, and things like that. And here we have the sound inventory, the main set, which basically copies Tokipona, and the extension that is used for representing borrowings from all sorts of languages. So what's the main idea of this? The main idea is that there are a few syntax markers that show the roles of the words after them. So the main things are these: a before a subject, e before a verb, and u before an object. And also before adverbials and or before imperatives. And on top of that, we can use the core vocabulary, which is suggested here. Basically, this is something like a tokiponido of a sort, mixed with some other projects. But it could also be changed. People could start using other words. It's not a problem because, well, this language is supposed to be the global mixer that will never reach its final form and will always be mixing and merging and fusing and creolizing more and more things. And it only makes sense to creolize the creolizer. So if people change these, there is no problem in that. But this is the vocabulary that I've come up with so far, and it has been optimized for a few different things. And it was I had to avoid clashes with these syntactic markers here. So I had to avoid certain sounds at the end of words or at the beginning, things like that. Yeah, and I will make different videos talking about different features and about the work in progress. But what this does, so we have the syntactic markers to give any listener any sort of vague idea of what is going on, like what is the subject, what is the verb, who does what to whom and where, and so on, even if they don't know any vocabulary. Then we have the core vocabulary, the basic things that ideally would be shared by many people. But you can also, if the person you are speaking with does not know this core vocabulary, then you can use vocabulary from their language, from your listener's language, if you know it. And yeah, on top of that, we can add any sort of borrowings from any languages, like anything at all, as like to provide details, to provide nuance. So essentially, the grammar, the syntax markers will give the main structure. The core vocabulary will give some hints as to the meaning of your sentences, and the borrowings will provide the details and the very specific differences for very specific niche sort of conversations, like if you want to talk about something scientific, or I don't know, some very deep societal questions, or whatever, art, philosophy. So this is meant to be as flexible as possible, optimized for flexibility and optimized for changeability, if that's a word. And yeah, that's the idea. Wait for future videos.